So Somesh Kashyap from Medtronic is a senior principal software architect at Medtronic who works to advance the adoption of model-based systems engineering in medical device development. His work focuses on applying MBSE techniques to engineer medical devices that are safe, effective, and reach patients faster. That's a great mission and what we all need. So the floor is yours, Somesh.
This presentation would be a little different from some of the other presentations. You guys are really experts in system modeling and SysML. Um, Unfortunately, medical device is not that great at that modeling and SysML. So we'll go through the problem statement, and I'm requesting all of you to help us get medical device, get more adoption in MBSC and SysML, and learn from some of the things that you guys have learned in your domain. So, bit about me. I have over 15 years of experience working in medical devices, and along with came a lot of scars. And MEMO kind of came out of that. And it's not a corporate sponsored project, it's an open source community project. So I welcome you to come contribute, review, and make it a standard for medical devices. So we'll start with the problem statement for medical devices, and I'll introduce MEMO and how it tries to solve it. These are not new ideas in other domains. These are pretty standard practices. But the goal of MEMO is to kind of make it easy for medical device developers to adopt this tool, and really have a low cost entry barrier, low complexity entry barrier. So the key problem is the design moves faster and your safety evidence often quite becomes out of date. And in medical devices, when you submit to FDA, you're not submitting your code, you're submitting your analysis based on verification that, hey, your medical device is safe. And today, medical devices are becoming very complex, and especially with AI being used and more, it's very quick to develop something, but how do you prove that it's safe? We do have requirements, risk verification, but kind of these are linked together, often live in different silos in medical device world. But some of you from aerospace or automotive industry, I think, would vouch for it, that architecture is the key to connecting these disparate parts. Aerospace is very architecture heavy, standard tooling. In automotive, AUTOSAR like framework also gives a standard. Unfortunately, medical device is very doesn't have that reference architecture. It's very process heavy, uh, but it's also not an easy problem because think of like a app which tells you how you slept versus a robotic arm which does your knee replacement or a cardiac ablation. They are very different form factors and do very different things. Um, so why do medical devices lag behind in this field? There is cross-functional slices. Again, that applies to other domains as well, but it's more ingrained in medical device field. We're still very document heavy. Model adoption and creation is very low here. Quite often, big companies buy startups. A lot of innovation happens in startups, and startups have a very code-first mindset. Systems engineering and modeling has not been ingrained into their minds, and that legacy kind of seeps in. There's also the cost. Um, MBSC has not been proven as much in medical domain. So there is a barrier. You have to justify why MBSC, why this tool, and cost is a barrier. And even if you go past that cost, uh, how to set up your model, complexity, that's the problem. Um we can develop medical devices faster, especially with AI. You can do a lot of faster prototyping. But how do you prove that it's safe? That's where our architecture-centric view kind of helps. So what we really need, and what we have seen in some of these other talks and elsewhere, is we need to take the advantage of this text-first model. The software has proven we can move very fast in a controlled manner. The diffs are really easy, reviewable, versioned. We need an architecture backbone to connect these different parts. But that's not enough. We also need a methodology clearly laying out, hey, these are the elements, these are the viewpoints you should use for your devices. A lot of groups kind of struggle with that. Even though they want to do MBSC, they struggle with how do I set it up? Uh, and then out of it, in the software world, you kind of compile your code and you know, hey, these are the warnings, these are the errors. Can we do something for the assurance case? Can we compile our assurance and say, hey, you're missing these functional allocation, you're missing these hazard, harms, risks, etc. And that's where MEMO comes in. So SysML gives you the language, the model, the structure, ways to model your requirements, etc. MEMO is really the domain, medical device domain model. There are specific types, viewpoints, etc., that it combines to help medical device developers. And really, it has got only three things um, if you look at the core of it. They are typed elements, typed relationships, and closure rules. And it's organized in a hierarchical fashion, so you don't need to adopt everything. You can pick and choose what you are comfortable with. So either you can start with the ontology, um, which defines what element mean, what are the relations in the medical device context. Building on top of that, you can adopt the methodology. Which viewpoint should I use? What are the rules I should add? There are other things in the pipeline, for example, a tooling around it. Command line tooling really helps to check your model, extract, import, and a lot of other things which speed up your development. And then there's the MEMO architect, which provides a visual representation of your model. So today we'll focus mostly on the ontology and the methodology. So we discuss ontology. MEMO ontology has typed elements for medical device use and their relations. Methodology, again, defines the viewpoints, the rules you want to use. Tools, we already discussed a bunch of tools to help you. And this is inspired from like Unix, Linux world, where even the tools created 30, 50 years back are still useful. And they are small tools which do one thing really well. And this is the architect. That's a future vision where you can have a UI associated with it, tailored for medical device. The ontology, again, it's a layered approach. We start with the core. These are really helper elements. And then on top of that, you add an architecture. This is inspired by Arcadia, but it's not very prescriptive. Then we already discussed the methodology. We can also add extensions, for example, for risk analysis or cybersecurity. The model comes with an example GPCA, and we'll briefly touch upon that as well. Again, this goes into the namespacing and a little more detail of what each does. And you can see this is the layered architecture of the ontology. Again, we discussed some of the links, types. So how do the teams apply this methodology? The recommendation is you pick a safety classification. Today, the medical devices are classified as A, B, C, depending on their safety profile. It's going to change with the new regulation. It will go to like type 1 and type 2. But for now, we have three classifications. And based on this classification, you can pick the viewpoints, apply the rules, etc. So FDA had a project in around 2012 to 16 range where they created an open source project called GPCA. And there's a lot of model-based systems engineering work for this available publicly. Unfortunately, it's not maintained, but that content is still there. So I chose this to demonstrate the use of MEMO. For example, this is a thread where you start with the use case need, requirement, architecture, and you go through the whole slice. And you really compile your evidence, and it's the failure are in your face, not at the time of the audit. And you really connect a slice of the whole layer across the scenario. And this is adoption suggestions for startups who may not be familiar with MBSC techniques. Is really start with the use case analysis, scenario, operation analysis, functional flow, and so on, rather than starting haphazardly all over. And then there are different recommendations for how startups should use it, how enterprise, what should be the review pattern. All of this is publicly available in GitHub, and I'll share these slides with you after the presentation. And that's it.
Thanks so much, Somesh. So that's great, and we look forward for your amazing library to be on CSAND, the new index, very soon.